I'm Nate Eaton here in our studio, and today we are talking with the family of Ralph Bryan. Of course, this story has been in the news since September of 2021, when a man broke into Karen and Ralph's house in Rexburg and brutally attacked Karen, shot Ralph, who ended up dying 3 weeks later after being in the ICU at Irmac. And this is the first time that you all are sitting down to remember your father, at least publicly, and your dad, your husband. We have a few grandkids who are in our studio behind me as well. I can tell you all are a close family, and I'm sure that that's helped to get you through the past few years.
Yes, definitely.
So I guess the big question that everybody wants to know, now that the suspect, Pierre Lake, was sentenced last week, 30 years to life, how are you all doing? I mean, do you feel like there's closure now? Is there ever really closure? How are you doing, Karen?
I'm doing good, okay, and I'm with family. Yeah, there's closure in one area, but there's always going to be, this is always going to be with us, but we try to have fun and do good things as a family, so it keeps us happy.
Here with Karen is Cody Bryan, a son of Karen and Ralph, and then Amanda Grimmer. I said it right, good. And Jared Grimmer, son-in-law. So how are you doing, Cody?
I'm okay. I mean, I feel like life kind of forced me to move on pretty quick. Or I guess move on isn't the right word, but just kind of had to get back to life. And that by itself helped me a lot. Right. Just kind of getting back to daily routine. So after the sentencing last week, it felt a lot different than I was really expecting. I wasn't really expecting to feel much of anything, but it definitely felt like oh yeah, like it's finally over.
Right. How about you, Amanda and Jared?
I think for us, it was definitely a breath of fresh air. It was a little bit like for 2.5 years, we've just been holding our breath because there was always like in the future going to be that sentencing. And so now that when it was over, it was a little breath of fresh air. And we still do like our family dinners every Sunday with each other. And we still get together for holidays, and we still go camping during the summer. Like we're very close and support each other and our kids' things. And my mom comes to all of their events. And so we do get together a lot, but that gaping hole where my dad was always so present is never going to be filled again, and that's hard. It's not a new reality, but just I think that's
Different.
Yeah.
always going to be there. But
Yeah, moving forward.
Anything that you want to say, Jared?
Yeah, I mean, I think our lives have been changed quite a bit, and it's not for the better, but it's different. And we get daily reminders, weekly reminders. Karen lives with us, and so that's been a big change. It's been good, but we often have the conversation of, Ralph would have thought this was funny, or this is what Ralph would have said when something happened. And it's been good that way to help remember how funny and great he was. But it's a conversation we have often. He's missed, and it's apparent that he's missed in our home, at gatherings, and it's good for our kids. I mean, Amanda said in her witness statement or victim statement that our older girls will know who he is, and I think our younger ones will too. But Cody's got young kids, and her siblings have young kids, and they're not going to remember Grandpa, and that's sad. It's unfortunate.
This was one of those things that when it happened and the facts started to come out, I think so many people were like, wait, what? There has to be more to the story. Or how does this randomly just happen? Is that a question you all are still asking? I mean, will you ever have the answer to that?
I don't think we'll ever have the answer to it. It's one of those things that it was random. And we know that, but yeah, that didn't get answered. And I know, but it wouldn't change anything even if it did.
Right.
So even if we did get the answer to it, well, it may, but he's going away. He's gone.
Do you ever say, if only it had been one house over, one street over, one neighborhood? I mean, has that gone through your mind?
It has, yeah, quite a bit. I do that bargaining where I'm like, why didn't you do this, or why couldn't I have done this? But
It's a rabbit hole,
yeah,
right?
It is.
They lived in a rental house that we had before, and we sold the house, and there's a lot of different things. They lived in a house before, a rental house, and they sold that. Like the rabbit hole goes so far
Yeah.
before it's not helpful. And so to make those questions of what if,
right.
it doesn't change. And I think we've had a lot of good conversations of this is where we are and this is what we need to do to help each other.
Right.
I don't feel like we've spent a lot of time dwelling on how it could have been. I mean, at
Or
least
why
for
it
me,
happened.
or like why. Just like we just kind of most of us have really just accepted the reality, and we're
And
just
this is-
dealing with it.
Yeah, these are the cards that we've been dealt, and just going forward with how we can do it together well. So,
That's amazing. Yeah, I've interviewed people who've been the other victims of crimes, and I remember one lady telling me that she was told the what ifs will kill you, and so you can't go to the what if game. Karen, what do you remember about that night?
Plenty, but there were a lot of things I do remember about it. And I try to remember him instead of remembering the event, because the event, that's kind of the nightmare. So I just think about him and positive things and who he was and what he meant to our family. That's what I have to do, because I was living the event, so I don't need to dwell on it, because it's not going to do me any good
It's
as far as moving on,
Yeah.
or forward, I should say.
And you brought notes for everybody watching. Karen brought notes and a dozen or so photos. I mean, this is very much a part of you, obviously.
Yeah.
What are one or two things you remember most about your husband?
One of the things about him, he was definitely very present wherever he was at. If he walked into a room, everybody knew he was there. He was just kind of a straightforward, bold kind of guy. That's how he was. Whether he was at games or supporting the grandkids in in their games and cheerleading, he was pretty loud. It was just his personality. He just had that straightforward kind of personality.
Others might call it heckling.
Yes, it's very true.
Cheerleading, heckling. There's-
Somewhere in that area. He was there as a supporter.
Oh, yeah.
Loudly.
Very loud.
What about you, Cody? What do you remember?
He was great. Like, I don't know. He's just he was a great man. He taught me everything I know. I think the memories I'm most fond of recently, before all this happened, is we would go hunting together. We all grew up hunting with Dad. Oh yeah, she's got a picture there.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all grew up hunting like as siblings, and as we all grew up, I think me and him were the only ones that really still kept going out together. And we would get a tag, and I'd say, hey, let's go out this Saturday, and he would be like, I think it's a little early in the season, he'd still go out, and we'd get up super early, and I'd go. It used to be me. I would go with him, and then just recent, like the seasons before, I would go and pick him up, and we'd take my outfit, and I would take him. I'd go buy all the hunting treats.
Yeah.
You want to
we
call
always
it
had to have the jelly
the jelly filled?
donuts.
Yep, the raspberry
Every
jelly filled
hunting
Those
donuts.
were mandatory.
That was
Yeah.
him.
Every
That-
fishing trip,
Every
Yeah.
hunting trip, fishing trip, whatever we did with Dad.
raspberry jelly filled donuts.
Yes.
Yeah,
Always.
And the grandkids did
Yep.
that too.
Right.
Yeah.
That was his thing.
Yeah.
yeah.
What about you, Amanda? What are one or two of your favorite memories or quirks about your dad you want people to know?
I don't know. Just that my dad, he knew how to make someone angry.
He,
Sure.
oh yeah,
Definitely
he pushed
knew
your
how
buttons.
to. He did. He enjoyed pushing buttons, and
true.
but then he always knew when it got past the point when it was funny. So he would push it just enough for it to be funny still.
Right.
And then, but he always made it very clear how much you were loved by him. And also that he would do anything for you. And I think that with my kids, you know, they're going to remember Grandpa teasing them a lot. They got teased a lot, but also supported and loved, and that he was their biggest fan. And
It's true.
yeah.
Karen, how long were you married?
Well, this February, next month, it would have been 40 years.
40 years.
30, yeah.
4 kids.
Saturday.
It's this Saturday.
Oh,
This
this Saturday.
Saturday, 40th anniversary. 4 kids, 12 grandkids.
Yes.
So far.
Yes.
What type of a grandpa was he?
Oh, very much. He was just there. I mean, he was a big family man. I mean, that's what he did. He wouldn't miss anything unless he was working or
Hunting.
hunting
I've even seen him change his schedule to make it
to make it work.
work for some of the kids and stuff.
It's very true. Yeah.
So not only are you dealing with the loss of a loved one, of a dad, of a husband, of a father-in-law, but you're dealing with a horrible crime, but also a person accused and then convicted of doing this horrible crime. How do you put that all together in your head, mainly when you see Mr. Lake in court, or I don't imagine you've communicated with him, but how do you process that? What would you share with the public about that?
Well, probably the biggest thing that I did, I was kind of numb to it, but I wasn't afraid to look at him at all. That didn't scare me at all. And it was somewhat like me on the outside looking in instead of me being on the inside. I've had to have help to, process that. Still can't process it. We're still working on trying to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I'll ever process it 100%, but he's just loved and missed. We just love him and miss him, and we have a lot of good family, good faith, and so that's what keeps us going.
Yeah.
Find a lot of happiness in my family, friends, community, brothers and sisters.
What about you guys?
In a good area.
How was it like seeing that person who killed your dad?
Well, I don't know. It was
At first.
It's not
at first
pleasant.
it was weird. Like it was like the first time I saw him, it was like this is the guy that killed my dad. And I'm like, I don't know. It didn't really set in. And then when we saw him at the sentencing last week, he got it was his turn to, I don't know how you word that. It was to talk, to say what he needed to say, and he said he was sorry, and it felt like he looked over. I mean, I don't know if he was looking at me. It felt like he was looking right at me when he said it, and he said he was sorry, and it just felt really empty, like a really hollow apology. And I don't know, my uncle, Robert, he got up and he said how much he feels for him and that he would be praying for him and things like that. And that kind of put it into perspective that I don't think he really understands what he's done.
Yeah.
And if he does understand, then there's just kind of no feeling in there. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But for me though, it was really weird. It was really kind of an interesting experience when it felt like he was looking right at me.
Right.
And I don't know. I try not to think about him because I don't know.
Yeah. Amanda?
I think that for me, because of our faith, I think that because I know that I'm going to get to see him again, I know that this was part of God's plan for my dad, and he was needed on the other side for whatever reason. And that doesn't mean that we enjoy it here, but we also think that part of the reason we have remained so strong as a family is because we know that we are supposed to be learning something from this as well. And it's helped us work harder at seeing what we're supposed to see and learning and doing the things that we are supposed to do while we're still here. So I think that perspective made it so that I hope that this kid, he did apologize. Mr. Lake apologized at sentencing, and if he does in prison try to change his life around, then I think that when he is up for parole, I hope that he has changed his life. So.
Yeah. How about you, Jared? As an in-law, I mean, you're kind of in a different role. You're part of the family, but you obviously want to support your wife and your kids, and your mother-in-law, who you move into your house. I mean, what has this experience been like for you?
It's been interesting, I guess. One of the things that Amanda and I do actively in our family, in our home, we preach that family is important. We've done it since we've been married, and Ralph and Karen, she's the oldest in her family, so our kids are the oldest grandkids. Ralph taught me that compassion and love is a good thing in your family. Ralph's a tough guy, super tough. Harley, long hair, hippie. That's who he was in the 70s.
Yeah.
But he also showed me that saying I love you to your kids, to your spouses, to anybody wasn't beyond him.
Yeah.
And so we teach our kids that family is important. And when family needs help, you're there. And so Karen needed help. Cody and I went and moved her out the next day.
Wow.
We got a crew together. We packed her house up with help of the community. There's some great cousins, Ralph and Karen's, and her ward up there.
Yeah.
We moved him out the next day and moved her in. It wasn't a question of where's Karen going to go? What are we going to do with mom?
Yeah.
It's Karen's in with us. And she's been with us, and she'll continue to be with us. Family is what we preach. And we're the support. Our kids know that. And we've had examples in my family with people passing away and other things that have occurred. We show up for family. And so for me, I think that's been the most interesting thing to see our kids respond. And Ralph still has an impact on us that way.
You mentioned the community support, and Karen, we spoke probably about a year ago, and you really wanted to get a message out to the community thanking them. But the case was still underway, and the timing wasn't right. But what would you say today to all these people that have contacted you, prayed for you, thought about you?
I would just say that I love the community that we live in, and the first responders, the police department, family, friends, the doctors. I mean, I wouldn't be here with these guys if it wasn't for all of them. But I love the area that we're in. I know if we were somewhere else that it probably wouldn't have been the same. There's a lot of cold things in the world, but this is a great area to be.
When we had Ralph's funeral service, 400 plus people in attendance from the community. It was an impact.
Just Rexburg.
Cody and I work in different industries, and we run into people all the time. You're Ralph Bryan's son-in-law? I've known Ralph back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Just this last week, I ran into somebody. Ralph Bryan is your father-in-law? It happens often. Like his impact in the community and people that knew him, so deep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I'm a structural engineer, and so he was on jobs that a lot of contractors I work with now knew my dad very well, and as soon as they find out where I'm working, like they come and talk to me, and it is really interesting. I meet a lot of different people every day, And as soon as they put two and two together, they're just like, oh wow. And the support that we feel from them, it's just like it's pretty overwhelming.
Yeah. Karen, you mentioned your health. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I've had a lot of good help, a lot of good doctors, like I said, but I'm doing okay. Got a lot of good counseling and stuff that's really helped me through a lot. And like I said, family. I mean, I feel like myself without Ralph.
Yeah.
I feel like, okay, I can do this. I got family. It's not fun. Some days are really rough, but I can do this. We can do this.
Let's see the photo there that you really wanted to show, the family one.
This was our last reunion. It was a month before this happened. It was at an Airbnb.
My dad loved it though. We went to
Cascade Lake.
And my dad's
yeah.
like, let's come back next year. My dad was very big about traditions and, we go camping every Memorial Day weekend up at Island Park.
Snow
we do.
And we
It didn't
Sunshine.
matter. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yes.
Is this another photo of you and him?
Yeah, it is. This look on his face kind of shows his humor because he always acted like a tough guy, right?
It's humor, but yet he's not
But
smiling.
he wasn't a tough guy. And
Yeah.
with me, he was
Right.
just, yeah.
Right.
Like I said, he just loved his family. We were it. And probably the biggest thing that he was he'd always tell me that he wanted to be the best dad. And he'd ask me, he'd say, am I a good dad? And I'm like, of course you are. Because he was always worried about that. That was huge to him. So, and sometimes, he was human, made mistakes, but he loved his family. He loved us, loved his grandkids, and he was just a lovable guy. But
When you and Dad started having kids, my dad had a speedboat and he had a Harley Davidson
The Camaro.
and a Camaro.
Wow.
And he sold them all so that we could have a camp trailer
yeah,
and so that we could go
Family
camping and
vehicle.
yep,
Yep.
make those
Minivan.
memories. Yeah.
Minivan.
And you did. You made the memories.
yeah,
Yes.
we did.
And then after we were moved out, he did get a Harley again.
Yeah,
So he loved
and now
that.
we,
It's
and
mine
you
now.
drive it.
Now
Yeah.
you know it's yours.
It's mine now.
So through the magic of the internet, you never know who's going to watch this. This could be watched in 5 years or 10 years or tomorrow by someone in some other place who is going through maybe something similar or is dealing with an unbelievable tragedy. What would you say to them? How have you got, and you probably have already kind of answered this, but what would you say to them as far as trying to get through or not get through, but move forward?
I would say clinging to the positive and the happy, whatever that might be around them. Their family, if they've got a lot of family, and just focusing on good things, on joy, and not focusing on maybe what's happened. That's easier said than done. I mean, like I
Always.
said,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I have good counseling, and not necessarily now, but yeah, that's helped me move forward.
Right?
Yeah.
What would you say, Cody?
I don't know. Just focus on the positive. It's pretty easy to get engulfed in the negative thoughts and to really focus on the actual event. But like she said, just staying on the positive and staying with family. That's family they're always going to be there for you, and we wouldn't be where we're at today if we weren't a family. And yeah.
Anna?
I would just say to try and keep those traditions alive and to keep them alive in your conversations, and not that has to be like your focus, but to just, when you do remember something positive about them, to speak it to the grandkids and to speak it to the people that you're around so that their memory lives on through you. So.
Jared, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, one step at a time, one day at a time. And I think that's, people try to rush through it, the healing process and moving through and forward process, but it's just a daily grind. And Karen's a testament to that. She's a fighter. She grinds and gets ahead and has a setback and gets ahead. And I think that having that grit to get through hard things, people are stronger and tougher than they know they are. And I think realizing maybe that you can go through the hard thing and get through it. Changed, obviously, but you can get through it. That's maybe the testament we have is you can do hard things.
Is there anything you all want to add?
If you haven't noticed, his family deals with anything with humor. And we can hear Ralph's voice in our head. How he would respond to something. I'll be doing something and not thinking about him, and it'll pop into my head, something that he would say, and it's just his humor. It's the impact he's had on all of us. My kids we could finish his sentence. Yeah, I heard it right now. He'd say, "Quit your boobin'." I'm sorry. That's what he would say. That was his humor.
Yeah.
So, funny guy.
That's awesome. Anything you guys want to add?
To all the guys that wear the white shoes with the tall socks and khaki shorts
Oh, yeah.
and a Cabela shirt, that's a lot of times we see Ralph. It's not Ralph, but that was his wardrobe.
It's true. Yeah.
Do you guys want to say anything? She's having a voice problem, but she's going to make it through this if she can.
I always remember he would always come up and he would always put us in a headlock and he'd mess up our hair as much as he could. And he'd grab, because he had his pinky missing, and he would grab his two fingers and would lock your nose in it. And he would not let you go until you were like, "Grandpa, let me go."
Oh, that's great. What's your name?
My name is Alice Grimmer, and I remember he would always we would always go camping, and we would have this
Dutch oven chicken.
Yeah, Dutch oven kitchen.
Chicken.
And I just remember having that.
Oh, good.
Except for when you
Anything in
burned
the
it.
Dutch oven's pretty good, unless it's burned. Yeah. All right, how about you?
Hello, my name's Marley, and I remember him always coming to my basketball games and watching me. And one time when I was trying to talk to my coach, he was standing there and trying to take a picture with me. I was paying attention to my coach, and I wasn't noticing him. So yeah, I remember that.
There was probably a lot of games and cheerleading competitions and recitals or whatever. Soccer, yeah.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah. How about you?
My name is Nora Jean, and I remember we would always go fishing. And I remember one of my cousins, they almost caught a fish, and then Ashlyn jumped right where the fish was, and then she scared it away.
And how did Grandpa respond to that? Do you remember? No. All right. How about you, hon? What's your name?
My name is Lily Grimmer, and I have a couple of memories of him. But the first two that I remember is that he'd always squeeze my nose and say, "Bill, you're in."
We didn't have any boys,
Yeah.
and there weren't any boys in the area with the grandkids, so he would call her Bill instead of Lily, and teasing her, It was pretty fun.
And then another one is when we were fishing, and I caught the biggest out of anybody when we were fishing.
Biggest fish up on Henry's Lake.
Nice. How big was it? Do you remember?
It was this big.
Yeah. It's bigger than you. Say that. Those are some good memories. Well, thank you, girls, for sharing that. As I said, I can tell you all are a close family, and that's so great to see. And I think it's a testament to you all and Ralph, too. And while he unfortunately died under horrible circumstances, we're grateful that you can be here and tell us about him and share your experiences. And yeah, thank you for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. I'm Nate Eaton.